So I bought the Xteink X4 a week ago because I was curious about the size. I really love these pocketable small devices, but I didn't expect to experience a kind of joy and nostalgia with this device. So today I'm going to give my first impressions after using it for a full week, what I like, what I don't, and who I think the X4 is actually made for. Let's get into it. So the Xteink X4 is a pocket e-reader with a 4.3-inch e-ink screen with a resolution of 221 ppi. I have my other e-ink readers here like the Kindle and the Remarkable Move, so you can see that it is a lot smaller, just about the size of my palm. It's quite thin, it's very light, and it has a magnetic ring at the back so it can snap onto iPhones with MagSafe. As for the hardware, the device is not touchscreen, so you'll have to use the physical buttons for everything. It took me a couple of minutes, but it was intuitive enough that I got used to it quickly. So at first, it looks like you have just 2 buttons here, but there are really 4 in total. The ones on the right navigate left and right, and the leftmost button goes back, and the one on the right selects. You can also use the rockers here to scroll up and down a page. The power button is right here, which you long press to wake or put the device to sleep. So I bought the magnetic case with my X4, and it looks like this. And this one, unlike my Kindle, doesn't have an auto wake or sleep function, as you can see here. So you have to press the button here every time you want to wake the device or turn it off. So I got the X4 for $69 from the Xteink website, and I also paid an additional $8.99 USD for this magnetic cover and an additional $9.99 for the reading light. I ordered it on the 25th of March, and it arrived here in Europe on the 3rd of April, so that's 9 days in total, which wasn't bad. I got the global version, which means it came with English firmware right off the bat, but I know that if you order from AliExpress, just know it will ship with the Chinese firmware. Now let's talk about the software here for a minute. So out of the box, the stock software is actually pretty decent. You can transfer files by scanning a QR code on the device or by downloading the Xteink companion app on your iPhone, connecting to the same Wi-Fi as your X4, and importing books directly from your phone. That said, the same day I got it, I found out there's a really active community that's built around the X4 on Reddit, and they've developed a third-party firmware called Crosspoint. I know there are others out there, but this is the one that I'm going to be talking to you a bit about because that's what I use. And the main reason I switched is the interface. So it cleans up the home screen so it's more minimal and streamlined, and it gives you more options for font type, size, and margins, and quicker access to things like reading orientation and sleep screens without digging through menus. You can also clip web articles straight from Safari, which is pretty cool. There's a lot more to Crosspoint that I want to cover properly, and if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments and I'll make a dedicated video on it. So now let's talk about the things that I love about this device. First, it's super portable. As you can see, it's hands down the most pocketable e-ink device I've ever had. And I've had it on my daily walks, at a cafe, and reading at home by the lamp at night. And in every one of those situations, it just worked. It feels like I'm bringing a very flat, very light pocketbook. And I also got the magnetic case, as I said, and it protects it well without adding much bulk. So I can show you here. Just snaps into place like that, and yeah. The second thing I love about this is the screen. So I got the X4 in white color, and the white bezels blend right into the e-ink display, as you can see here, giving it this clean paper-like look. And the fact that the bezels are also flush with the screen makes it more appealing in my opinion compared to the Kindle, where you see that there's some space between the bezels and the screen. The third thing I like about this is the physical buttons. The buttons are clicky and very satisfying, and what I found is that these buttons make the reading feel more organic. Like there's a physical, tactile feedback when switching pages you just don't get from swiping a screen. And it's also kind of fun to build that muscle memory of what each button does, and it reminds me of the tech we used to have in the 90s. That means Game Boys, brick games, CD players. You know what I'm talking about if you're an older millennial like me. And with those devices, you learned where the buttons were and they just became part of how you used the thing. So the X4 brought that back, this sense of friction and the act of physically touching the buttons. And it just feels intentional in a way that I haven't felt with touchscreen devices in a long time. And lastly, and probably this is an unpopular opinion, I like that it doesn't have a front light. So it sounds like a con, but for me, going back to the nostalgia angle, so at night I've been reading by a lamp in the living room so I don't wake my partner up. And it's exactly the kind of soft, focused reading that feels relaxing just before going to bed. It's going back to basics, and I really like that. Now, on to the things that I don't quite like about this one. So first, it doesn't really sit flush on my iPhone 13 mini, which is a bit of a bummer. I saw a lot of photos of it on the back of iPhone, so I just assumed that it would fit any iPhone. But as you can see here, it's a little bit too long, even if you put it upside down, because the MagSafe contact points aren't lining up properly with the camera bump getting in the way. Although I heard that the newer X3 model fits better, so worth keeping that in mind if you have a smaller phone like me. Also, there's no way to highlight or save excerpts directly on the device, which makes sense given that there's no touchscreen, but it's still a limitation. So what I do is that I pair the X4 with my Remarkable Move when I want to capture specific passages. And I've also seen people stick a ring magnet onto a notebook like the Traveler's Notebook here. So for example, they snap an X4 right into this. They put the ring magnet right there. Doesn't add much bulk. And then they have some pages here, for instance, that they can use to take notes. So I want to try that setup. Maybe in the next few weeks, I'll see how it goes. But so far, I've been pairing it with my Remarkable Move right here. Also, I'll probably do a separate video on how I use the X4 alongside my other Xteink devices. Let me know if that's something you'd want to see. Another thing worth noting is that there's no dictionary right here. So no way to look up unfamiliar words right from the device. And if you're reading in a foreign language or want to expand your vocabulary while you read, you'll need to have your phone nearby, which is not ideal if you want to be not on your phone. Lastly, there's no way to jump to a specific page or search for a term the way you can on a Kindle or Remarkable. So for instance, it's just going back and forth like this to switch between pages. You can also do a long press to get to the next chapter, but that's about it. If you need to move around a book quickly, say for research or reference reading, this isn't the device for that. So for me, these things are minor, but perhaps for other people, they'd be deal breakers, so there they are. Who do I think will love the X4? If you grew up in an era of single-purpose devices, for instance, things that did one job and did it well, and you've been quietly missing that feeling, this is for you. And if you like the idea of building a small physical habit around a device, like learning its buttons, sitting by a lamp to read before bed, you'll love this as well. And if you need something truly pocketable that can go anywhere with you so you can spend idle moments reading an actual book, then I think the X4 might just be what you're looking for. I know it's not for everyone. If you need to annotate pages, look up words, jump between chapters quickly, or absolutely need a front light, you might want to look at other options. For $69 though, I think the X4 is a genuinely solid device. And if you're someone like me who feels a little nostalgic for tech that has a tactile quality, that just does one thing and does it well, I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching, and feel free to drop any questions or share your own X4 experience in the comments. See you in the next one, and until then, stay paperful.